What can you do to make sure that it doesn't repeat itself? That someone's not showing up there surprised that they can't just live with you for a few weeks.
Yeah, sure. On possession. Okay, so I feel like since that day, so obviously telling that story, first of all, it's like a hyperbole, right? It's like the extreme possible version of like the seller just still being there on selling day, on key day.
Which
And
does happen.
I mean, it can happen. And so I feel like there's a couple of things that we might be able to take out of this and maybe even understand as like realtors working with our clients. Obviously, having someone still being there begging to stay for an extra couple of weeks is extreme. But for me, there's a couple of things that since then, when I look back on that story and I see kind of milder versions of that coming out, like, I can see ways that people may or may not know. So, two things that I think can be happening. Number one, you see sellers having extreme emotional attachment to their homes and having a hard time letting go, even on key release. And so, like, even though that was the most extreme example, like the seller still being there, I have shown up early for key releases where the seller is still there. I've even had a key release where the seller stood in their front yard and cried right up until a minute before my buyers showed up with their moving truck. And even that's hard because you're trying to like
I think
manage
that
that.
would kill the mood of your buyers, yeah.
Totally. Like it's a buzzkill for
Yeah.
sure. There's nothing worse than your exciting moving day and the seller's there emotionally not wanting to let go. So I feel like that is something that, that we want to be conscious of when we're working with our sellers and really understand where they are emotionally with letting go of the home. Like if this has been a family home, there could be some, attachment there that we need to deal with. The second thing that comes to mind for me, like when I think back on that story, is does your seller fully understand the contract? You know what I mean? And do sellers understand the finer points of the contract and what's expected of them and what their duties are in this whole process? Because what can happen is often, when you're in the negotiation stage, and believe me, I would probably make it onto my own shit list in some situations, because what happens is the big thing that everybody's focused on and what's so exciting is the negotiation of the big 5 points, like what I call them. And of course, price is usually one of the biggest things. Everybody's so focused on price. What am I getting for my house? What am I selling it for? That's the really like sexy, juicy part of selling your home. And then the other kind of other points, there's a few mixed in there, but what deposit is the seller or is the buyer putting down, and then what are the conditions in terms of the sale. Once those get dealt with, and if you're in Canada, they typically get dealt with like in the 7 business days. 7 business days of condition removal of our due diligence period. I know, like if you're in the States, you're going to have more of an escrow period, and I won't touch that because that's not really the point of this. But so there's a defined time that you're kind of dealing with the larger points of the contract. And if you're, especially in this day of electronic signing, if you're just slipping the contract in front of your seller and being like, here's the 5 points you need to focus on, sign, 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 your clients, your sellers may not actually be reading the contract and may not be going through the fine point. And even if they are reading it, they might not be understanding the legal jargon, right? Like I literally had a client the other day say to me, "This is gobbledygook," and I was like, "Yeah, fair enough. Let's go through and let's read it properly." So the fact that they have to be out at a specific day, on a specific day, at a specific time, in a specific fashion, may have, like, the finer points of that may not have been discussed with the client.